most of my probate deals never saw MLS because the seller would sign an MLS opt-out. We would send it through our private buyers list, and it would be under contract immediately. And I mean, usually within hours.
Welcome, value-providing agents and investors nationwide. Today is July 23rd, 2020, and this is Mastermind call number 288. Just a little bit of a few brief announcements before we get to our callers. And by the way, we do have 6 people in the queue. If you would like to actively participate, just hit *6 and then hit 1. And first of all, I wanted to announce our winner of the week last week was Rosie Heyer. Rosie's just been with us a little over a month. She took mastery, and she'd already put together 3 deals. So congratulations, Rosie. You are our winner of the week. And Chad, I know you have a couple quick announcements also.
Yeah, speaking of mastery, I know a lot of folks have been waiting on me. We finally got a calendar in place for the rest of the month. So mastery will begin on Monday the 27th at 3 Eastern. So it's 3 consecutive days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, starting at 3 Eastern. Finishing whenever we finish. It depends on how interactive the group is, how long we run. And if you want to get signed up, you can go to probatemastery.com or in subscriber portal, look under the Education and Training tab in the menu. The other thing, if you weren't here last week, we did announce our newest product, Probate Plus. And what this is in response to requests from you guys, wanting a better quality of data, wanting to know more and more and more about each of the estates before you pick up the phone. Probate Plus, you'll see inside of my probate leads in your CRM, you start to see some changes like real estate fields that you're not used to seeing. If you click Learn More about Probate Plus, you can go learn all about it. But it's basically a data augmentation that will allow you to, with a higher quality data, you can focus your marketing dollars and cut your campaign cost by having better data and knowing exactly which ones to go after first. So you can go to alltheleads.com/probate plus or click from the subscriber portal and see it in action.
Perfect. And I think it's fair to say that that's something that you will not find anywhere else. So we're real proud of it, and we'd like to see as many of you guys take advantage of it as possible. So let's go to our callers. We now have 8 in the queue. Great job, guys. I didn't hardly have to beg. And first up this week is phone number ending in 0306. I just was talking about you, Rosie.
Oh, hi, guys. Thank you.
Hi there. You're very welcome.
Hello. Thank you. Thank you so much. All right. So just here wanting to talk about my last works experience. We were able to move the client forward that we got, with the minimum of will. I was able to successfully speak to 3 probate attorneys, asked all of them for video calls. I think within 2 weeks, some of them would be ready, so I'm excited about that. My question was specifically around prospecting. So I'm dialing through the leads. I have around close to 597 leads in my system that we're going through. At the same time, what I'm learning is, as I was having my daily conversations with my current database, I'm letting them know that I'm a certified probate specialist to seek the opportunity there. And one instance that happened last week, my hairdresser, that was my sphere conversation, her mother went through probate and spent $4,000 or $5,000, where she didn't have to do any of that, right? So I was wondering, I tried to introduce with a script that, very generally letting people know that I'm a probate specialist too, but I found myself explaining myself a little too much. So my question is, if I would like to introduce myself as a skilled probate specialist to my current database, what is a nice way to go about it where it's well received and people find me as a resource so I can nurture some leads out of my people that I already know?
Hi, my name's Rosie. I've got a team of people here in Austin that help families going through probate, and we mainly help them increase equity and lower stress.
Oh, okay. So same thing that we are doing. Other people don't even explain much about it. Just go straight into the same script.
No, that's like, so people don't feel talked to. You say something vague and summarize it like that, right? So, hi, I'm Rosie. I help families going through probate retain more of the generational wealth and get rid of a lot of the stress. Well, what's your natural response to that? What do you mean? Or how do you do that? Or tell me more. Like, so something that's just a few sentences that will really beg curiosity and make them want to ask you questions. And when they start asking questions, then it's same with the prospect. You stay in control as a leader in the conversation. But they're asking you, with my permission, please tell me more.
Please tell me more. Okay, good. Okay, so just introduce that one little
I've had a lot of practice with this because, like, my family doesn't know what I do for a living. They're like, what do you do? And I'm like, oh, I help families go. What I just told you is, like, it is legitimately my own explanation.
Okay. Okay, awesome. I like that. I like the genuineness in it. That's all for today. Thank you.
Hey, Rosie, it's Bruce, and I'm going to throw in that that's really good if you are face-to-face with someone or you're having a conversation on a Zoom meeting or network meeting. You can also do this exact same thing through some of your marketing with opt-ins. So you give people an opportunity to click through to a video or click through to a blog or something that you've done that explains more. I love the idea of taking people that you already have in your sphere of influence or your database and giving them additional opt-in options. And Chad's opt-in option that he just gave was the ultimate one because they verbally ask, tell me more. Well, how do you do that? But if you're not face-to-face, maybe record a video explaining it and don't give the video away, but give the brief post away on Facebook or the brief email and say, if you want to know more, click here.
Absolutely. Actually, I don't think I can recap what you said, but I want you all to know I completely understood you. Basically, you guys are saying that communicate through the video in a snippet content where a database can look at it and understand, what I'm offering in addition to real estate, what my expertise is in, and how I'm helping things in addition to real estate with. So I got it. I'm excited about it. I'm going to ask you a very random question. I don't think I should be the one asking because my husband handles that part of the business. But we're really trying to master the Facebook ads, and I understand it's not just boosting a post. There's a lot more to it, and they're taking some very intense training. I was planning on making that video that you guys just mentioned, Bruce, and running Facebook ads with that to my current database that I have in my CRM that I'm interacting with. Would it be a good attempt in marketing, or I would be just throwing some dollars or hours away?
I would look at it as a branding campaign, not a marketing campaign. Okay. And in my opinion, those are two very different things. Marketing elicits a direct response. Branding builds familiarity. So as long as you don't look at it and expect an immediate return on those dollars, like you'll get an indirect return because you're just branding to your sphere of influence. But it's the cash conversion cycle on dollars like that are usually 9 to 12 months. So it's something that if you're going to do it with a long-term mindset. It's low cost compared to direct marketing. You can get those impressions for much lower cost. So just engage it like you would say a farming campaign or television ads, something you're going to do that's low dollar, high touch over basically in perpetuity. And over time, the more people who understand what you do and how you actually affect the community you're living and working in, like you should really connect with Roger Lisi. Roger, if you're on the call, chime in. But Roger he's in Northwest Arkansas, a very different market than what you're in. But even with 30 leads a month, he gets a fraction of what you get each month. But he has built the core of his business is this. And it's because he's doing what you're doing. He considers every conversation an addition to his sphere of influence. They go into his database. He makes follow-up calls. So it's no surprise that he gets guardianship, divorce, probate, trust. He testifies in court as a real estate expert. He just has a constant flow of opportunities because he has approached it this way for at least the last 4 years. He's been doing what you're proposing, just staying in front of everybody with your message. And so if it's somebody with aging parents or it's somebody that's going through a divorce, like if they understand there's a woman here in town that has an entire team of people to help in family transitions, like that branding impression can be really good, because when they or somebody close to them is in that situation, they'll only think of you. So that's what I would say about it. If you're marketing directly to the personal representatives as a saved audience, that's obviously I have a different opinion. That's direct marketing. But if you're just hitting your whole database with it, I would just have a long-term mindset.
Yes, definitely. I just wanted to maximize my return on each conversation I was having in a day, because in addition to probate calls, I naturally reach out to my sphere as they're consistently on daily basis. So I just wanted to add one more thing in it, and I think it's and you're right, Chad, that if I do go the route of Facebook ads, my intention was to set a budget, turn it on for a whole year, build traffic to the website, so at least when people look me up, they can find legitimacy in it, and it's completely branding to enhance my results when I'm actually prospecting. So that was the intention behind it, and I'm glad that you guys are letting me know that branding does take 7-8 months, or 9 to 12 months, and not an immediate return. Cool, awesome. Yeah. I'm looking forward
to Rosie, while we're on this topic, I want to remind you. I mean, we did talk about this in Mastery, but you've been covering a lot of ground quickly, so I'll just remind you that every one from your sphere of influence that does not have an estate plan should have an estate plan. And I know that's an inclusive statement, but they should. So while you're doing these sphere of influence calls, why not find out, just say, listen, COVID has given me an opportunity to really analyze my level of service. And I'm going to step up for the rest of 2020. I'm going to do what I should have done a long time ago. I'm offering every one of my clients and even prospects, anyone in my sphere of influence, gets a free hour with my high-level estate planning attorney, because I've helped enough families now. I don't want to see anyone I know go through this and the expense and the stress of probate. So how would you like to have an hour with our legal team? And everyone that says yes, now here's how you monetize this. You've done your goodwill. You've also created an A+ referral, so you can open the door to a new attorney relationship, or you can reinforce an existing attorney relationship. And with the level of discipline and tenacity that you guys approach your business, I would imagine you could probably get at least 2 or 3 referrals a month back from attorneys just by doing that on the calls you're already making.
Yes. And I just want to share something, and my input might be naive, so please take it with a grain of salt. I know probate attorneys could be, I don't know where I get this sense, but probate attorneys could be hard to get hold of or, open up for an interview. We were able to have detailed conversation with 3 different attorneys in 1 week, and what I did is I reached out to my title company. Like, I remember having a memory of working with my title company and somebody had a probate issue. So I have a good relationship with my title companies who I do good business with, and I asked them what probate attorney do they use when muniment of the will or something like needs to be handled. And their relationship with attorneys were different, so I was able to get on their calendar quicker. So anybody out there, I'm not sure what I'm saying is any true, but this just worked, and maybe I'm doing it the hard way still, so I'm happy to hear you guys out. But this estate planning, Chad, what you just said, this is powerful, because I think this is the true value add, and I'm 100% in agreement. I'm very excited. It will be done this week.
Awesome. I believe that.
I want you guys to hear what she just said. This is one of the most powerful ways to get in front of attorneys, is through a warm referral with the attorney connections that you already have. Real estate attorneys, bankruptcy, whatever they are. Go to those attorneys and ask for connections with probate and estate attorneys, and that'll open the door wide open to one-on-ones.
That's true.
All right. Rosie, thank you so much. You got off to such a strong start. No pressure, but we expect 3 deals a week from you from now on. Come in every week and give us your 3 new deals, okay? Thank you so much. All right, next up is phone number ending in 4650. You're up next.
Hi, this is Michael. I'm in Atlanta, Georgia, and the property that I'd like to discuss is a single-family home in Pennsylvania. The situation is that my mother passed away recently, and her estate leaves her her property equally divided between my brother, my sister, and I. So we would each get 1/3 of the estate, including 1/3 of her home. My sister has been living in that home for several years, and she would like to stay there. What I would like to know is probably some real basic information for you folks, but since I'm a new investor, it's all a big mystery. If you could explain the process of how we could change title from my deceased parents to my sister, and how my sister could reimburse my brother and I each for 1/3 share of the home.
Is your sister creditworthy?
That is a good question. 9 or 10 years ago, she had a bankruptcy.
That's okay. She's 7 years away. So we'll first assume that she is creditworthy. In this case, it's very easy. She will sign a purchase agreement. Who's the personal representative? Are you the administrator or the executor?
No, my brother is the administrator.
Okay, so she would sign a purchase agreement as the buyer with your brother as the executor. And then you'll close the chain of title using the death certificate, the letters of testamentary, list of heirs, etc. And then she'll own the home, and then the bank will pay you and your brother at the closing table. You guys, well, the estate's bank account will receive the cash funds, and then at the final distribution, you will show your brother will show the court that the house was worth X. Your sister got her equity in the home, and you guys have your equity in cash in the estate's bank account, and that will be released to you upon the final disbursement. If that doesn't work, if she's not creditworthy, then you can still sell her the home. So the estate could sell her a home with no money down, 100% owner financing. Obviously, you just subtract her equity from the valuation, and you guys carry a first. Like you and your brother you could even form an entity, and that entity could carry the mortgage, or you could do it personally. But you guys would basically extend credit to her if that's okay with you, if you don't need the money right now.
Okay. Very interesting.
I heard a devious laugh there. Does that mean that's something you don't want to do?
I don't, because of my sister's past experience with her finances.
So this is a very common situation. A lot of families find themselves in this position, and for anyone listening, when a family member tells you, and I'm putting you on the spot, sir, but when a family member tells you that, oh no, my sister or my cousin or Uncle Jerry is going to buy it, in my experience, and at least in Southwest Virginia, about 80 to 90% of the time, they're not capable of buying it. That's why they're 60 years old and have never owned a home. But the family doesn't understand real estate finance, so they truly want them to have the home, but they also want what you want. You want your sister to keep that home, but you want your equity in cash today. So a lot of families will ultimately find that it's simply not an option, and they do have to sell. So if you accept that as that objection at face value, and then you go away, you might not ever get that person on the phone again. So this is one of those areas where you'll hear me say, I'm not a high-pressure salesperson, but I see myself as a leader in this situation. So I'm going to push on you and find out, just like I ask you, is your sister creditworthy? And I'm going to bring that pain to the surface, and I'm going to hear that devious laugh, and then I'm going to know you need a contingency plan, because it's unlikely your sister will be able to pull this off based on what little bit of information I've heard from you so far. So I'm going to just give you every bit of service I possibly can, because the moment she realizes she's going to have to move out of that house, you're going to be the one that you're going to trust me to handle that and maximize the equity, so we can get her equity now to get her into a more a suitable living situation. So,
and one thing
asking good questions is very important.
Yeah, one thing I was going to add, even if she may not be, she may not qualify for an FHA or a conventional loan, remember in this situation, she's essentially putting 1/3 down. So she's only going to get a 66% mortgage. I would suspect, you could find somebody that would finance that. You know, it might be at a slightly higher interest rate, maybe a private lender, hard money lender. Not hard money, that's going to be too high, but I suspect that might be doable. So I'd reach out to a really good, really creative mortgage broker that has multiple options and run that by him, because it may be more doable than you think in this situation.
And if you get really stuck, sell the house to an investor and let him owner finance it to her.
Sell to an investor.
So find an investor who's doing rent to own or lease with option to purchase or owner financing. There's a handful in just about every market. They're not easy to find sometimes, but if you can get a guy in Pennsylvania who's you know, has cash and he's willing to buy that home as an investment and, you know, do a lease with option to purchase or an owner finance deal with her, then you guys get bought out and she can buy the home from the investor.
Wow, this is some great information.
Which market are you in? Or not which market are you in? Where's the house? Where's the house is in Philadelphia? Okay.
The house is in Bucks County, like southeast Pennsylvania. It's a suburb of Philadelphia. Mm-hmm.
I have a few investors in Pennsylvania. I'll private. What's your name? And I'll get with you offline.
Oh, okay. It's Michael Concannon.
And by the way, Bruce, he's in our database as a lead, and I have a feeling one of our salespeople might be calling him right after the call to talk about that a little bit more. He's in the database as a lead.
Yay!
Yeah. Answer that phone and have them connect you with me, get you on my schedule. This is Bruce, by the way.
Bruce. Okay.
Yep.
Very good.
Okay.
Thank you so much, guys.
All right. Thank you. Great call.
Bruce,
we have.
I wasn't realizing it's in Philly. If you guys need it, I actually have a friend who specializes in owner financing in the Philadelphia area. So if you come up short, I think we've got your back.
Wonderful.
Perfect.
Thank you. You've been a big help.
All right. Glad to hear it. Next up, and we only have 4 more in the queue. We probably have room for more, guys. Don't be bashful. Hit *6 and hit 1. Jump in there now so you don't get shut out. Next up is phone number ending in 0742. You're up next.
Hey, guys. My name's Cameron. I'm in Fresno, California. Love the whole probate thing. I'm at the end of an escrow right now. Everything has gone smoothly, and this is the first time I've worked with this attorney. And she's in San Diego. The title company is asking for copies of the notice to perform. Notice of proposed action. Sorry, another escrow. And she's swearing it's kind of like adversarial at this point between the attorney and the title company. I guess my question is, I'm only familiar with probate escrows having a notice of proposed action, and she's saying it's not necessary because all other 4 siblings have signed off and given him full authority. So I guess my question is, a notice of proposed action is standard in every probate escrow, right?
So you're in one of the most complicated state. Your process is a little more, it's quite a bit more complex than most. But if your attorney is not communicating, you can always call the probate clerk and clear up anything with them, like to kind of do your homework, and then reapproach the title company and be like, actually, I just spoke with the clerk, Jane Doe, she said X, to help them, because it is complex, and some people are just, we're all learning. I don't think you can ever learn everything about it. But if communication is broken down, you can rely on other attorneys or call the probate clerk to get some questions answered.
Okay. Well, we're ready to close. It's just the underwriter needing this notice of proposed action, which the attorney is swearing up and down is not necessary. And this title company, a title company I use for all my transactions, is, I don't know, I guess I don't know what my question is at this point, but for every
sounds like your question is how do I get it closed, right? And you're in an impasse between the attorney and the title company. Is that accurate?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah, but
I'm assuming you've already.
Go ahead.
I'm assuming you've already tried the direct approach with the attorney.
No, I haven't. But I mean, even early on, she asked why. I mean, I always set up probate escrows for offers to indicate a 45-day escrow because of that 15-day period of the notice of proposed action. And that was how it all kicked off. She said, why is this escrow so long? And I was like, well, you know, the NOPA. She said, well, no, we don't need, she was very stern. We don't need that. Who told you we needed that? He has full authority. And I don't know. So that was my first encounter with that. And I've been through 2 probate escrows before this one now. And I'm only
Were they limited authority or full authority?
I mean, they both had letters of administration. I didn't need court approval for either one of them.
Okay, so they both had full authority.
Yeah, okay, that's full authority then.
Yeah, and that went through that title company?
No,
title company in question?
It went through, no, it was last year. It went through a different one. But they more than willingly gave up the notice of proposed action.
Do you still have your closing documents from one of those closings last year?
Sure, I could find them.
So if you can find your closing documents, even if you call the title company and say, hey, can you send me the package on this one? And then forward that to the attorney and say, listen, this was a full authority closing that we did with a different title company. Here's all the documentation. You know, I've done my job. I just need your help to finish this, and resistance isn't going to get either of us paid.
Mhm. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Do we want to be right or do we want to close? That's basically.
I don't care about being right. But it's about her wanting to be right. You know what I mean?
Her. That's the question.
That's what he meant.
Yeah, I've asked that question of attorneys that want to fight before, and it's happened multiple times. Attorneys want to fight; they want to be right, and I've just asked that question 4 or 5 times, and they never love it. But guess what? Every time I've asked, they always cave in. They're like, "Yeah, we want to get paid."
Okay.
And then, as a thank you, once this deal is done, as a thank you, buy the book "Ego is the Enemy" by Ryan Holiday, and drop it in the mail to that attorney.
Yeah, sure, man.
I'm sure he'll appreciate that. Yes.
Right on. Thanks, guys.
All right. Good luck. Let us know how it turns out. All right. Next up in the queue is phone number ending in 1583. You're up next.
Hey, y'all. This is Travis again. I spoke with y'all last week, and it was a blast. But I got one more question that I want to ask you all that I'm getting hung up on for some reason for the last few days.
Sure.
Okay. So my question is, when I make on most of my leads, the PR, they have either he or she have 1 or 2 numbers, and the rest of them be I guess other family members. Now when I get to that first number, the PR number, and she doesn't answer, and I keep going down the line up to the rest of the numbers. Now my problem is, if the PR don't answer, I don't get nowhere with that lead because I really can't get past the family members. And most of them be, well, like the mama of the PR be like an older person, preferably an older lady. And the kids be the sons, and they don't, too much want anybody talking to their mother or protecting the family members. So I can't really get past them. And that's my hang up for some reason the last few days.
You want to role play?
Yeah, let's do it.
Ring, ring.
Who's the person rep? Me or you?
You are.
You the person rep.
You're the one getting the objections, so you drive the bus.
Okay.
Ring, ring.
Hey, can I speak with Ms. Jones?
No. I'm playing Travis. Like I'm outbounding this call.
Okay.
You be a random family member that's not Travis.
Okay. So
Ring, ring.
Go ahead. Hello?
Hi, I'm trying to reach Travis Smith.
He's not available right now. Who's calling?
My name's Chad. I was reaching out because we have a team here in Atlanta that help families going through probate. And when we met with the clerk this week, she identified your family as one that may need some help as going through this process. So I was just hoping to touch base and introduce myself to Travis and see if there's any way we could help your family. Could you share a good number for him?
Well, as to tell you the truth, he's my dad, and he was the only child, so I'm quite sure he don't need no help with that.
Yeah, that's how most families feel. I don't know if does he seem a little more stressed than usual?
Not really.
Okay. Well, I tell you what, I'll leave my number with you. A lot of families will feel like they've got it handled for weeks and sometimes months, and then when they realize they're in over their head, they call for help. If you could, just let him know that I called and let him know that there's someone here in the community that can help you guys with anything and everything. Like, for example, have you guys had to deal with cleaning out properties and getting all that taken care of? Have you lost your weekends yet, or is that still coming?
Tell you the truth right now, you know what? I don't even think we got into none of that stuff yet.
Yeah. So do you guys was there, houses and cars and all that stuff in the estate, or did your deceased family member not own anything?
Yes, it was one house. It was one house, but my dad, like I said, I think one of our other family members are going to live in it. And my dad, he's the only child, and I'm quite sure he don't need any help with that.
Okay. Well, if he does, I'm guessing you're going to be the one taking your time to help him. If you could just let him know that we can help get the house cleaned out, get any repairs made, get a proper lease put in place. We see a lot of families get in bad situations by just letting people move in without a lease. Whatever we can do to have your back, that's what we're here for. So if you don't want to be the one moving the stuff and watching your dad struggle through what a lot of families do, just pass my number along to him.
Hey, Ted, you know what? I thought I had a break script. Man, you know what? I'm over here shaking my head because I did not get that far. And that's how this conversation went this morning. And now I feel like that would mean that situation, I would want to pass the number. And you're right.
Exactly.
That was
because I brought you into it. I brought your emotions into his problem, right?
And when you
I showed you what you had to lose when you weren't thinking about how this is like, this doesn't affect me at all. But then I started taking you away from your girlfriend and your weekend at the lake and these other things. And I started painting the picture of problems your family has and then you're thinking, oh, wow, how selfish am I? Maybe he does need help.
But that is super cool. Now, this where I went wrong at. And when you said, well, I'm quite sure that you're going to be the one helping them, right? When it seemed like they hit me. And you know what, my conversation didn't carry that long. And I think that was my hang up. And that was it.
So the takeaway here, it can go a million different ways depending on who's on the phone and what the answers are. But the takeaway is run toward the obstacle. Don't take an objection at face value, because that's what salespeople do. Leaders who want to help families through this, who know that they have problems even before they know they have a problem, they keep pushing and they keep gathering information, and they find out what emotions are driving the behavior. In most cases, the behavior is apprehension or procrastination. But why? Let's figure out why. And let's make this real while we're on the phone, because we might not ever get them to pick up again. So put a little pressure on, and you know you're doing the right thing. There's no way that they're not going to get a super high level of service, and you don't get paid until you do what you promise. So you're not pressuring them into anything but receiving help. So push.
All right, sounds good. I thank you all so much, Dan. It's a winner. I'll talk to you all next week. Thank you all.
Jim, you still with us?
Yes, I am. I muted out there. Sorry about that. We only have 2 in the queue. Don't wait till the last minute, guys. If anybody wants to participate, just hit *6 and hit 1. We've got plenty of time for you. Next up is phone number ending in 4361. You're up next.
Hi, guys. I'm so impressed with the work you guys do. And I was trying to wade through this Probate Plus product. And one of the things that intrigued me was the ability to spot a short sale. I've done quite a few short sales, and I'm a real estate guy. And I've done quite a few short sales. But I'm curious as to, okay, you can spot a short sale opportunity, by using Probate Plus, but who cares? I mean, the way I look at it, if you run a short sale, the seller doesn't get a dime. So what is the benefit to the estate or to the descendants of doing a short sale?
And Chad, if it's okay, I'll take this one when you're done. Go ahead, Tim.
And secondly, how would you go about it? I guess you have to contact the probate attorney and deal with him or her.
Yeah, let me start off, Tim. A lot of you know my wife and I started a short sale company, 13 years ago. She's done over 2,000 of them. And on the surface, what you're saying...
That's absolutely not true. You guys invented short sales.
Well, yeah, we invented because we had so many of our own back in the good old days. But what you're saying logically would seem to be true. What we have been, or what my wife is frequently surprised by, is you're right. Most of the time, there's nothing substantial for the estate to gain. There can be exceptions where, if the lender came after him, it might jeopardize some of their assets, but that's not really a viable reality. But what we've been surprised was how many people were willing to cooperate with the short sale just because they didn't want to see mom or dad's house fall into disrepair, and they wanted to see a nice family move in there. And there isn't really a financial incentive for the estate, but there really isn't any work required either. Unlike a living person that has to supply, hardship letters and financials and all kinds of documentation. I mean, the deceased doesn't have a bank account. Generally, you just have to have the executor sign one document giving the short sale negotiator or yourself permission to negotiate with the bank, and you're pretty much done. So there isn't a lot of work, and some of them may just say forget it, but I think we found that at least half, maybe a majority of them, are willing to cooperate just because they want to see the property end up in good hands and they don't want to see it go into disrepair. So it's certainly worth a try. There are very isolated cases where we have been able to get a relocation bonus, which is kind of ironic. The person's already relocated, but for the family. But that isn't something I would expect or promise. But I would just reach out to the family and with that attitude that, hey, I noticed you're upside down, and I know you don't have a lot to gain, but you probably want to see a nice family move into that house, and you don't want to see it go into disrepair. If I could do everything for you and all you got to do is sign one document, would that be okay if I kept that house from getting foreclosed? I think you might be pleasantly surprised the response you'll get from a lot of people.
Okay, if I understand you correctly, you want to structure it so you could negotiate for them with a bank. You get some sort of permission to do that.
Limited power of attorney is all you need.
Okay, so let's assume you do. Go ahead.
Go ahead. If you need one, just reach out to my wife. It's she'll give you the one that she uses. It's 954-584-0000. If you need any help structuring it, and she'll actually even do it for you, and she doesn't take any of your commission. She gets her fee out of the deal. But if you want to do it yourself, she'll share the document with you that she uses.
And what's her name?
Pamela.
Pam, right? That's right. I remember.
Yep.
Okay, let's assume you do that, Jim. Then what? How do you get paid?
Well, in this case, you're a realtor, correct? Are you a realtor, an investor, or both?
I'm a realtor.
Yeah, the bank. It's funny. That's another misconception with short sales. A lot of people think, they'll take a better price if there isn't a realtor. You're dealing with a person in the short sale department that has strict guidelines, and they have it programmed in to every short sale. They're willing to pay a 6% commission, and if they don't pay that, it doesn't mean they're going to take a better price for the short sale. It really doesn't. So they've already got 6% figured in there. So you just act as the realtor, and you list the property, you find a buyer, you act as the realtor, and you collect the commission.
Okay, I got it. So, yeah, that makes some sense. All right, that answers my question. The other
thing, before we move on to your next question, the other thing you need to consider, everything you've talked about is valid as if there's a single note. If there's more than one lien on the property, if there's a second mortgage, that the reason it's underwater, as long as it's not underwater on the primary lien, there's always a possibility you can negotiate the second position lien, whatever that might be, a mortgage, a judgment, or whatever it might be. There's always the possibility you can negotiate that down low enough so there actually is equity in the estate. So don't just automatically assume that it's always a first deed of trust. It could be 2 or 3 layers of liens, and you could remove layer 3 and layer 2 and have equity for the family. So you can create massive value, and they can keep the home versus losing the home. So again, always ask good questions.
Yep, great point. Very true. Does that help, Tim?
Yeah, it did. A little short, dumb question. How do you pay for this Probate Plus? Do you have to convert to everything, or?
So if you don't want to run Probate Plus, let's say you have a list of 100 leads, and you look down through it and you're like, well, I've already talked to these 20, and I know they're not going to sell. You go into the Option Status tab and select Opt Out Probate Plus, and then that way when you run the order, it won't run Probate Plus on that lead. So in that scenario, you had 100, you opted out 20. When you click Get Probate Plus, the order form will actually notice on that list there are only 80 that are not opted out. So it'll charge you $2 times 80, so it'll be $160 for that list versus $200.
Oh, okay.
So if there's ones that you don't want to run it on, and if it's a new list, that's a list that you already have. If it's a new list, we're just going to run it on everything because we're assuming you haven't spoken to any of them. So it's better, we can run it for $2 and you'll know what they own versus sending mail and making phone calls and trying to figure that out. So on your new list and your recurring subscription list, it'll just automatically run on everything if you set it up that way. If you're just doing individual orders, it'll run on the ones that aren't opted out.
Is it possible for me to just do one list to see how it goes, or do I have to commit to a long term?
No. Go to that list in My Probate Leads, and you'll see a column for Probate Plus, and you can click there, and it'll take you right to the order form, and just pull that list up in the order form and click Submit, and it'll run within an hour.
Okay. Thank you very much, you guys. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Tim. We appreciate you. All right, we got a full queue now. I'm going to close the queue, guys. Good job filling it back up. Next up is phone number ending in 7152. You're up next.
Hello, this is my first call in, and just starting with this whole probate stuff, so I have tons of questions. A friend of mine called me because a guy that I've used regularly in my real estate transactions, he is actually dying, and he is in the hospital right now, and he may not make it through the day. However, the woman he's lived with for over 20 years, he never married. He doesn't have a will, doesn't have a trust. They don't have kids. He does have a brother, and he was the main money maker, so she has no income to pay any kind of a mortgage. What's my first step? What do I need to do? Oh, and I should have told you, this is Becky Trowbridge, and I'm in Springfield, Oregon.
So, Becky, I'm assuming that her concern is she wants to stay in the home and maintain her lifestyle. You didn't say that, but that's what I heard, right?
Oh, absolutely, yes.
What's the dynamic between her and the brother?
He's helping her. She does have her name on a couple of the vehicles, so he's helping her to get those fully in her name so that they won't be part of any probate or whatever they end up going into. And he's trying to help her. I haven't contacted him yet because I just got this call late last night. And
nobody, to your knowledge, nobody has power of attorney for the patient?
No. Nope, there is none. If anybody would, it would be her, but there's been no document signed.
Do you know what the common law marriage requirements are in your state?
I don't.
So my first call would be to a family law attorney, and I would explain the situation and just say, this is urgent. Before we put a strategy together, we just want to make sure that Ms. Smith understands her rights, and is her relationship with the patient, is that going to be recognized as a common law marriage in this state? And if so,
right.
what are her rights in succession? If it is recognized as a common law marriage, and she has succession rights as a married woman, then she's entitled to probably half of the estate, and the brother is entitled to half of the estate.
Okay.
Becky, I didn't hear you say this. So maybe I missed it. Is the patient, is he conscious and competent, or is he in a coma?
He's not in a coma. Well, he's not conscious. He's not competent. They tried to get him to sign a will that was just kind of drafted up when he went in, but he spiraled down so quickly. He's not aware to be able to even put an X on a line.
Okay. Never mind. I know any good title company's done a number of the deeds at the hospital, but you have to have conscious competence. So if that's not an option,
right.
Then
that was my first question.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, he may not even make it through the day. So
got it.
I'm pretty
So for anybody on this call that doesn't have an estate plan, use today as inspiration, because life can change in a cocaine heartbeat, and so many people go through situations like this. It's $1,500 to set up a trust. It's less than that to do a will. And there's no excuse. But hopefully, it sounds like the brother is willing to do what's fair, and he recognizes her as a sister-in-law and should treat her accordingly. But he may not be obligated to. He may not have to. But if I were you, I would talk to a family law attorney and at least try to learn as much as you can about her rights, and then talk to the brother. And just say, listen, if they were married, she would get X, or she, by the way, they were basically common law marriage, so I would like for her to get X. Do you agree? Hopefully he'll do the right thing. It sounds like it's a better situation than some.
Yeah, I think he will. And really, their home, if they're out of town, it's not worth much. It's probably less than $300,000. It's got a couple acres, but it's pretty dilapidated, so it's not like he's going to come into something really big. And I think he'll do good because he has his own family, his own home, his own everything, so he doesn't need what they have. So it is horribly unfortunate, but they just felt like they never could afford it. So.
All right. Well, good luck. Try to get in the middle in a nice way. Let them both of them know that you're there to help them equally, and hopefully you'll be the one that can sell the property for them when they're able to, if it has to go through probate or not. Okay.
Right. Okay.
All right. We have 3 more in the queue. Joe Lehman, you're up next, sir.
I just wanted to give you a success story.
Oh, go! You're our winner of the week then, because you'll be the first.
I had 2 opportunities with estates where both of the personal representatives of the estates just wanted to be done with it, and I was able to quickly put these under contract. Didn't list them, didn't put them in multiple, just put a deal together with an investor, buying them as is, where he is. One is $70,000. It's probably about $130,000 house fixed up. One at $58,000. It's probably about the same value fixed up, but it had a pool in the backyard. And this investor goes in, cleans them out, fixes them up, and then does bond for title, deed for contract. And they're perfect properties for him. So anybody out there, if you haven't developed a good group of core investors that you can go to immediately and put deals together, you need to do that, because these could be very fast, quick deals. These came together in, showing one afternoon, less than an hour to see both properties, and boom, offers on the table, accepted.
Yep. Well, that's great.
Thanks for sharing that, Joe, and that's great advice. Bruce and I actually had this conversation yesterday privately. Like, most of my probate deals never saw MLS because the seller would sign an MLS opt-out. We would send it through our private buyers list, and it would be under contract immediately. And I mean, usually within hours, because we were selling them at 80 cents on the dollar, and they were in really good condition compared to MLS inventory that landlords are picking through. So we did it very discreetly and very quickly, and they're not, those aren't sexy numbers, especially for people on the West Coast. But the reality is, you just did 2 transactions, and a lot of times I would put a flat fee on them. So if it was a $50,000 house, I would just say a $5,000 commission, and the seller is unrepresented. And I would take the full the buyer's unrepresented, and I would take the full $5,000 on a $50,000 deal. I made 10% commission, and I was fully transparent with the family about that. I'm like, I'm not going to do this for $1,500, but if you're okay with $5,000, I'll get this done very quickly. And they're like, yeah, sure, whatever you think. That's more like we couldn't have done it on our own. So you can the volume on these can be much higher than conventional deals, and like a lot of times I didn't even go. I was only to the house one time ever, so I would be paid $5,000 for an hour of work, and the investors always came back. Like, it just keeps reinforcing that relationship. So I've said it for years, but having a strong cash buyers list and real relationships with them, knowing, are they landlord, are they a flipper, are they a portfolio buyer, are they a private money lender, are they a owner finance guy like the guy you called, the better you understand what their strategy is, the better you can understand their appetite and which deals to send to them. So when you do send them, they take you very seriously. So if you don't have cash buyers, I want you to, one thing to do right now for anyone who feels like, if you don't have at least 5 really solid cash buyer relationships, meaning if you called their cell phone right now, they would know who you are and they would know that you're the real deal. If you don't have 5 of those, I'm going to challenge you to get that in place by the end of this quarter. And you could do it by the end of this week if you wanted to. But we're coming into a period where you're going to make the people who have those cash buyer relationships are going to be the top earners for the next probably 2 years. So it's really important right now that you do what Joe's doing, like really focus on getting those strong investor buyer relationships. But if you go to alltheleads.com, in the top right, put in cash buyers, and you'll see some tips from the trainer videos, and you'll see mastermind calls where we talk about short-term approaches at doing this and longer-term approaches at how you find the right cash buyers. And I'll give you a hint. It's not by buying a list from some piece of software. It's done organically, and it's done easily, but it's done in your community. So thanks for sharing that, Joe. That's awesome, man.
And
that's great, Joe.
Initial phone call, one visit to the property with the buyer, deal done.
Yeah, Joe, I was chuckling a little bit when I think it was Becky said it. It's not a big deal. It's only $300,000. I was thinking, well, Roger Lacey and Joe Lehman. I mean, that's 5 deals, but you just do 10 of them a month to make up for your low sales price. That's all. Hey, it works anywhere. That's great.
Hey, Joe.
Yeah.
Have you been in Probate Plus? Are you using it?
Probate Plus didn't show the information out of my MLS. I think my MLS is one of those.
Oh, that's right. I talked to somebody about this for you. Yeah, so we have like 90% MLS coverage, but you're in one of those MLSs that won't release their data, right?
Well, I don't know what it is. Maybe we need to talk about this outside of this call. But
even without the MLS information, where I see this as valuable to you, if you sort by equity percentage and you see that like all the free and clear assets,
right,
and you could really build the relationship with this investor. Like, go buy him lunch and be like, hey, how many houses are you trying to buy this year? And each month you could send him a list of property addresses, or you could send him something. Be like, listen, I've got 12 this month that are free and clear. How many, like, and in these zip codes, which ones would you be interested in? And then you can actually approach those families and have a very direct conversation and say, listen, I have a gentleman who, I understand you're the administrator of an estate. We've got a team that helps with almost anything, but I'm specifically calling today because someone asked me to call you to see if I could, if they would, if you would be willing to sell the home, and it's in the estate. But you can kind of go let him window shop and then go after the deals that fit his criteria. It sounds like he's probably doing volume if he's buying 2 in a month. And 67% of these homes are free and clear. So they're great for that type of strategy. You could potentially go, just target your effort, your investor effort with Probate Plus. It'll help you find the right opportunities for them.
Okay.
Just a thought.
Good idea.
But you don't need the MLS data to do that because everything else comes through. We're pulling everything else from tax, like tax databases, mortgage databases, valuations. Like there's stuff coming from all directions. So even if we don't have the MLS feed and from your MLS, all the other data is still there.
All righty, Chad, we got 2 more in the queue. Are you okay going an extra 5 or 10 minutes over, or do you have a 2 o'clock call?
Yeah. No, I'm good.
You're okay? All right. We got 2 more in the queue. We're going to finish up real quick. Hopefully y'all can hang around for another 10 minutes. Next up is phone number ending in 6742. You're up next.
Hi there. It's Catherine. I have 2 questions. One question is the heirs and the personal representative, when they get the distribution, is that money tax-free or is that considered to be like a capital gains?
Most of it's tax-free. So like the real estate specifically, you can look up step-up basis. So like if you inherit $1 million home, you don't have to pay capital gains on $1 million. But there will be a basis will be established where the value where you inherited it will become your basis value, and then whatever gain you make on it, you will pay on that. So it's not like if you have $1 million in assets, you're going to be taxed at $1 million. There's a CPA in your state would have the better answer, but you're not heavily taxed on until you get into, I think it's $12 million is where they really start to nail you with tax. But for most estates on these calls, you're not going to have much tax liability.
So a lot of the PRs, when they're going through probate and they don't have money to fix it up and stuff, I know you talked about that at Probate Cash, but where do they use their own money for the most part because everything is stuck in the estate?
Well, most people won't want to. So if the estate has money, one of the first steps once they get the authority is they go gain access to a bank account or open a bank account for the estate. And then they can use any of that money for repairs to get more equity out of the property. A lot of times there's no money there. The average senior citizen only has $24,000 in liquidity to their name, which means half of them have a lot less than that. So a lot of times it's just not an option. That's where we can get creative. We can bring in, an estate advance company to advance them cash, and then they get paid back at the very last minute on the last line of the distribution with the family. Or we can turn our contractors into lenders, and we can get them paid at the closing table or at the final distribution. We can go to investors who can advance money to them and take mortgages on property or different things. So there's lots of different ways. Oftentimes, it's the family doesn't need to put their own personal money into the estate. We can show them how to not take the risk by paying a reasonable interest rate to an investor or a company or a contractor.
Okay, great, thanks. My second question is dealing with creative financing, like structuring a deal. Like, when is it best to use the lease option or the contract for deed? And what happens if we go under, a contract like this and there's repairs? do I use my own money or try to borrow money to do the extra repairs, even though I have this contract for deed that I'm, taking over payments or paying them more for monthly? I guess I'm just wondering, like, where the
only time you should ever,
money is.
The only time you should ever use your money is when you're a principal in the transaction. If you're an agent in the transaction, don't put your money into the deal. It's not necessary. You're taking unnecessary risk. If you're buying the property and then you're sandwiching in a sandwich lease option, then you put your money into it, or you sell it as is, where is. So as far as the best time to use owner financing versus lease with option to purchase, it's outside of the scope of what time we have left here. So I'll point you to, we did a series back in March called Shift Happens. So if you go to youtube.com/alltheleads, click on playlist, and then go to the Shift Happens playlist, episode 4. I made a matrix of the seven most common creative financing strategies that can be used in this space and in this market environment. And I spend 2 hours showing you the benefits, the pros and cons to both the buy side and the sell side. So, and I give you examples of when and how each of those will be used. And we talk about a straight owner financing, a wrap subject to second mortgage, lease with option to purchase, several contract for deed, land contract. So there's seven specific strategies, and I tell you when to use them, when not to use them, when it's beneficial to the buyer or the seller, and when it's not beneficial to the buyer or seller. And that will, I think, give you everything you're looking for.
Okay, great.
So Shift Happens, episode 4.
All right, last up this week has been patiently waiting since the top of the hour is phone number ending in 3937. You're up last.
Thanks. Hi, Chad. This is Bo again. I spoke to you last week, but I was asking the questions about how to properly do the transactions as a realtor, and I had spoken to one of the brokers here, and they were kind of vague, like as far as the documentation that you were telling me about last week. Like, I would like for you to tell me pretty much what you told me last week again, but if you could just say it slower, because you kind of like ran it off kind of fast. I think it's because you're so familiar with it, so you're just like, nailing it, but I kind of missed it. So if you wouldn't mind just telling me again, just like a little slower this time so I can actually write it down.
So forgive me, I talk to a lot of folks. We're just talking about the paperwork that we need to properly list a piece of real estate in probate?
Not necessarily list it, because that would just be like doing traditional realtor work, but if I want to, because I remember I was saying because with the realtor we have to do all this disclosure or whatever, and so I was asking like if you could do like a flat fee for...
Okay, I remember now. We talked about multiple ways to get paid. Yes, I do remember.
Yes.
Okay, so the way you get paid on your license is and I'm going to give you this in I guess, in my preference. As a realtor, you will represent the seller and the seller only. So you'll have an exclusive right to represent seller agreement. When you bring the investor in, you're going to have the front page of the purchase agreement is going to be an unrepresented party addendum. The names of these forms might be different in your market, but you'll find them. And what that is, just an explicit, it's just everyone saying that we understand nobody is representing the buyer. They don't need representation. And the way we pitch that as a benefit to the buyer is, hey, Mr. Seller, just like on an auction platform, or unlike on an auction platform where you would pay a 4 or 5% buyer's premium, I'm actually not going to charge you any commission as long as you don't need representation. So would you like to save 3% and I'll just leave you unrepresented? Okay, great. So he's seeing that as a it's a no cost but a high perceived value. and then you're just going to take the full listing side commission. The reason I like that structure, I don't believe in dual agency. I don't think that you can fairly represent two people in opposing positions. Just can't happen. So you limit, that's one of the number one ways people lose their real estate license is in dual agency arguments, debates. So just don't put yourself in that position. Represent one side. If you're going to do it on your license, I would do it that way. And you can do it as a percentage or you can do it as a flat fee. You'll address that in the listing agreement, not in the purchase agreement. So in the listing agreement, you can write in, for, you could even do 6% or $5,000, whichever is higher, but I usually choose one or the other. To do this off your license as an investor, you should have you should have an entity like an LLC. You should have an EIN number, a bank account, and none of that should be commingled with your license. Your purchase and sale agreement needs to have a disclaimer, disclosures in it. My disclosure is, I'm going to do my best here, but seller recognizes that Chad Corbett, the managing member of Resolutions Real Estate Services, is a licensed real estate agent in West Virginia, Virginia, Hawaii, Tennessee, and yada yada, and is entering into this contract with the sole intent of making a profit, period, capital bold, no agency relationship exists. And I make them initial that in the additional terms and sign the contract. So if anyone ever says anything about me practicing brokerage without a license, they can see where they initialed the disclaimer in the listing agreement, and then they signed the listing agreement. And that has happened to me, and the investigator congratulated me on being thorough and being ethical, and he closed the case immediately because I wasn't practicing without a license. I was being a principal in a transaction.
Okay. And by the way, if you ever, these calls are always posted. You can always go back and listen. You can even, they're podcasts. They're on our website. There's links. You can always, have your broker listen to it if something gets lost in the transaction, or in the translation, I should say. Okay.
And the last thing I wanted to ask, so you were saying this would be as far as doing a listing, but like the previous gentleman was saying that they didn't list the property. He just basically gave information to an investor that he knows, and they were able to close the deal the next day. Would this be like the similar step or the similar process rather?
So I didn't ask Joe exactly how he structured the deal, but if let's just assume that he only represented the buyer. So he contacted the seller, had a relationship with them. Let's just consider them a FSBO. And he contracted directly with the buyer on an exclusive right to represent buyer with X% or X number of dollars if they buy a property at 123 Walnut Street. So you can do that. You can have a specific buyer's agency agreement with a flat fee or a percentage, the same as you can with the seller. I just find that we're reaching out to the seller offering a service. I usually end up signing the agreement with the seller and then leaving my buyer unrepresented, so they feel like they don't have to pay a commission. Ultimately, the commission's coming out of their money. But
gotcha.
So either way, you can do that. The big takeaway, and your broker will appreciate me telling you this, but the big takeaway is pick a side, represent one party.
Perfect. And Carlos Rivas, I'm sorry, we got to leave you in the queue, or actually he dropped out. Anytime, guys, we close down and we don't get to your question, just contact us right away after the call and we'll help you one-on-one. Carlos was in there, but I see he's gone now. All right, well, thank you, guys. I want to end this call the way I always do. I want to thank all 150 of you for being here. I want to particularly thank those who actively participated. And I want to challenge each of you. You heard some great ideas, some great stories. Take one thing that inspired you on this call, go out and put it into practice, and please come back next Thursday and share your results with the group. Make it a great week, guys. Stay productive, stay healthy, and we will talk to you same time next Thursday. Take care.